What's going on, everyone? Desktops Gaming here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going over something pretty cool. We got a little thing sent over from MinisForum. It's one of their UM700 models. This is a small desktop PC. So today we'll be unboxing it, taking a look at what it can do, like I said, what use cases you might find with a little mini PC like this, and then we'll put it through some tests to see what all we can get out of this tiny desktop PC. This one actually powered by a Ryzen SoC. So let's dive in unboxing and see what we can do with this thing. Now that we've got everything laid out here in front of us, we're going to be taking a look at what's included here today. Like I said, so we'll go ahead and lift this off. And of course, we have unboxed this already because we've been testing and playing around with it. Especially if you've been following our Instagram over at Desktops Gaming, you've seen a couple shots of it already. But in the kit, you do have the little instruction manual here. Like I said, that is included. And then we are greeted by the MinisForum PC itself. So we're going to pull this out of the way for now. And if we keep going down into the box here, underneath the next foam insert, remove that. We are greeted by, of course, the power brick. And then included in the kit, we also have, let's see, an HDMI cable here. It looks like we have another cable included. Let's see what this one is. I actually didn't unbox this when we, or open this one when we originally unboxed it. This is actually a Displayport cable. And then we'll dive in a little closer to actually see what ports are on the MinisForum UM700 here. And then also included in the kit, you have a mount for a base mount. So if you want to mount this to the back of a monitor or TV, like I said, it has the hardware on here to do so. And this one can be mounted in that way. And then it includes 4 little screws here. These are actually for the included 2.5-inch mount that's on the case itself. So we'll dive into that in just a sec. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the PC itself. Going over the PC itself, like I said, this guy is pretty neat. On the front here, you will have 2 USB 3s. You have a mic input here, so it actually has a little built-in mic. Like I said, then on the front here, it's USB Type-C, but this is only for display. Each one of these displays on here can do 4K 60. You have a auxiliary jack here for a 3.5mm jack for headphones, power button, and then it looks like the indicator light here. And then going on to the back side, you have 2 more USB 3s. You have HDMI, I believe this is HDMI 2. You have a DisplayPort here and actually 2 gigabit LANs here as well. And then of course the DC power jack and Kensington lock here at the bottom. Now what we thought was really cool about this model anyway, if we dive in just a little bit closer, actually do have a little latch system built into this to actually get to access everything. So if we click both sides here, we can actually lift this little latch off, revealing the inside of the PC. So inside here, like I said, this is where you would mount a 2.5-inch on the back side of this. So if you wanted to put an extra SATA hard drive back here, whether it be 2.5-inch spinning drive or SSD, that's where you would put that to expand your storage. Going on the inside here, the little cable that's kind of hanging around here is that SATA data cable to plug in if you're going to put a drive at the top there. Moving that to the side, you can see we have a socket here for SODIMM memory. Our model actually has this is a 16 gigabyte model, so there's 2 8 gig sticks here of SODIMM memory. I believe they have models all the way from 8 up to 32 gigs, because you can expand up to 32 gigs on this SoC that's installed. Now granted, going with dual channel, no matter what, especially higher dual channel capacity here is definitely gonna help because this is an integrated graphics chip. Like I said, this is the running off Vega 10 graphics, so having dual channel memory and more of it will definitely help you out in that situation. And then on the side here, we have a little heatsink on top of our M.2 drive. So it's pretty neat. This actually does have an NVMe M.2. It's only a 256 gig in this model, but they do offer other models, and of course you can always upgrade that in the future. All right, so that about goes over all the unboxing and what's inside of the kit here. Now that you've seen the front and back, you can disassemble this from the bottom here, because actually that's where the intake fan comes in, is on the back side here. So it actually does have a pretty good pathway of airflow because there's little feet here on all 4 corners that will raise it off of the table. allowing you to, for it to breathe so long as this is not covered up completely. And of course back here you can see where that VESA mounting bracket goes, so you can mount it to, say, the back of your monitor or back of a TV or anything that has a VESA mounting bracket. But goes over everything inside of the device. We're actually going to do some testing and show what this thing can do. We'll plug it up to our main monitor and keyboard mouse on the side here. Gonna have to do it kind of janky. Didn't want to run any recording software, and I don't have an external capture device for this guy here. So today, like I said, we're gonna be kind of just having to film the screen while we do our testing, so we'll get an over-the-shoulder shot of everything that this guy can do. So let's go ahead and dive into that. All right, guys, again, I apologize for the somewhat janky setup we got going on here, but like I said, I don't have an external capture device, nor did I want to run anything on the MinisForum itself to slow down any, potential gains we might see off of it, having to do some kind of screen recording and capture. So we'll just kind of be looking at the monitor so you guys can kind of follow me along here. All right, so let's go ahead and go into that. First thing I noticed with this device, it handles streaming just fine. So if we go and pull up Chrome here, all right, so we'll head over to YouTube, and then we'll take a look at, I don't know, desktops gaming. Why not? So we'll go ahead and head on over to there. We'll look at our last video and little budget gaming PC we did. Like I said, and of course, now ours is only 1080p 60, but like I said, still plays back just fine. Now, of course, we can look up some 4K 60 footage. We'll go ahead and turn on stats for nerds here, where we can take a look at any kind of frame droppage. Like I said, currently, like I said, there was one dropped as we were kind of loading it in, but other than that, it's performing great. Like I said, but that's pretty easy. A 1080p 60 stream runs just fine. So let's go ahead and go over to, let's just do 4K 60 video here. Costa Rica, yeah, sounds good. And then we'll go and full screen that. So like I said, this is sitting at 4K. Let's just make sure. No, that's at 1440. Let's go and turn it up to 4K. And let's see, it's still loading in. Dropped a few there just as it was loading in, but still playback is just fine. Like I said, we have one frame drop now, 2, 3. Like I said, but there's not a whole lot missing here. So like I said, it's handling this playback just fine. It's nothing I can see, with the naked eye, even though it says we are dropping a few frames here and there. There's scene shifts and everything. I can't perceive any kind of flickering or lag in between what it's showing on screen and what's going on the back end. So like I said, if you're picking up something like this for streaming any kind of content, I don't see that being an issue. Like I said, it's a little bit slower as it pops in, but I mean, once it's loaded up, that's fine. Like I said, you can see there's a little bit of lag between exiting full screen and, let's say, going back full screen. So maybe a half-second delay there, but overall, like I said, once it loads it in, it does just fine with the footage. All right, so like I said, that about goes over all of the video portions of it, so it shouldn't have any issue being a streaming PC. So if we go out of there, let's dive into actually have a few games as well, because one of the things I thought of when I was looking at this was actually an emulation machine. So let's see how it handles that. Before we go over any emulation, go on and touch on some specs real quick. The model that was sent over to us, like I said, this is the MinisForum UM700. Inside of this guy is the Ryzen 7 3750H, which is a 4-core, 8-thread SoC. SoC just meaning that it has integrated graphics and it's all one chip. It says 2 megabytes LN2 cache. It's 4 megabytes of LN3, or L3 cache, excuse me. Base clock at 2.3 gigahertz up, and it will boost up to 4 gigahertz. And like I said prior in the intro, it is RX Vega 10 graphics with a frequency of about 1400 megahertz. Now stock, these come with a single channel with an 8 gig SODIMM stick in, but it does have 2 SODIMM slots. The model we have actually does have 16 gigs installed. And storage, it is a M.2 NVMe SSD. Like I said, ours has a 256 gig one, but like I said, they do offer, I believe, up to a terabyte on MinisForum's page. And as far as wireless, it is Intel Wi-Fi 6. It is Bluetooth 5 or Bluetooth 5.0, or excuse me, Bluetooth 5.1 already installed. And as far as video outputs, it can do 4K 60 on the HDMI 2 port, 4K 60 on the Displayport, and 4K 60 on the front USB-C. So I just want to touch on those before we dove into anything when we get into emulation, so you can see what kind of connectivity you would have. But like I said, on the back, like we said in the intro, it does have 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, USB 3.1 port, 2 of those on the back, and then like I said, the USB 3 is on the front. It does have a digital mic and a clear CMOS button on the side there. That's actually what that port on the front on the right-hand side here is for. All right, so let's dive into more of, like I said, what I was playing around with it over this past week was a little bit of emulation. Now, of course, you're not expected to do Office apps and everything like that, fine, but of course, since we do gaming PC stuff around here, I wanted to see how it could game. Now, I wasn't as interested in newer AAA titles, though I do have one. We're gonna see if it'll run some Doom Eternal, which Doom Eternal should run on a Tamagotchi, so this guy should be able to handle it fine, at least at low settings, or maybe even like 720, but we'll dive into that in just a sec. But we did manage to install RetroArch, so we'll go and open that up. Like I said, RetroArch is just a ROM simulator. Will let you emulate games that you've totally got completely fairly and not nefariously at all. But like I said, I did manage to get a couple different things running here, everything from a couple PlayStation games. So we did have some Crash Bandicoot, so let's go ahead and run that. We'll see how it does here. We're just gonna pull it up real quick. What I'm gonna do actually real quick too is connect a little Xbox controller. So we can actually use that instead of using the keyboard. So we'll work that as a little gamepad, just plug it into the USB on the front here. And go ahead and plug our controller in here. Now, of course, like I said, if you do have a newer Xbox controller, you could connect to this via Bluetooth, or say a PlayStation controller to use that as a gamepad. This one is a little bit older Xbox controller I had lying around, so this one actually needs to connect still. It doesn't have the Bluetooth setup for it. All right, so as you can see, we do have it running here. We'll go ahead and full screen this up so you guys can see it a little easier. But this is the original Crash Bandicoot for the PlayStation 1. So let's dive in and see how it handles this. I'm gonna start on Insanity Beach. Like I said, so we can see kind of how it runs. I don't have any frame counting information here. Like I said, we're on Insanity Beach. Yeah, like I said, it looks to be running fine. That's it. I don't know if you guys feel like some nostalgia, but like I said, put way too many hours into this game way back. Like I said, I don't know how old a lot of you guys are, but like I said, I'm old enough to remember when this one came out. So, cart for the Wii running. So we'll go ahead and see if that one's still working just fine. So this would be a little more demanding in comparison to something, say PlayStation. We had some Sega running as well, but yeah, we'll skip over those because, like I said, if it will run something under what the Wii is, then we should just be fine. Skip yes, we don't have a Wiimote to worry about there. Now the biggest thing, like I said, when you start doing an emulation like this, is you have to totally make sure you own the game first. Of course, like I said, you gotta make sure you own the game. And we're tiny again. So it looks like we have a decent lead right now. Oh no, a PAL. Looks like we're gonna take this one, fellas. There we are. All right, yeah, finish first. But yeah, as you can see, it runs Wii just fine. And now what we did run into trying some other emulations, we're going to shut this one down. Like I said, we did have like Halo and such like that running on a DXBX emulator. The only one it really kind of struggled to work with, we played around with a little bit of the Yuzu. It is one for the Nintendo Switch. Like I said, that one, it's not quite enough graphics horsepower there because it's only contributing 2 gigs of VRAM to the built-in graphics there, so it just kind of chugs along once you start getting into that. But I could see this as a great emulator for, if you're gonna be running like RetroArch, running either Game Boy, pretty much any iteration of Game Boy would be the Color Advanced, any PlayStation, anything like that. All right, so let's try one kind of newer title here. Like I said, we're gonna launch some Doom Eternal. So going to dive back in here. Like I said, I've been testing this out just a little bit. Like I said, we have it currently set at 720 on pretty low, running the Vulkan engine here. Like I said, we're getting an average of around 70 or so FPS. Like I said, bouncing back and forth between 60 and 70. So I mean, it's not completely unplayable by any means. Like I said, just not the best graphics fidelity that you've ever seen. So you're averaging around 60, sometimes getting a little higher, or hovering about 50 right now. Like I said, didn't really have any crash or anything. Like I said, CPU is currently sitting, like I said, if I'm moving, like I said, we have cores kind of bouncing, some at 70, some as low as 50% utilization there. like I said, running about 8,936 megabytes of VRAM for the integrated ones there. Like I said, I tried to make sure that I got these as updated as I possibly could. So like I said, we can try turning this up a little bit, but like I said, it's not the best gaming experience by far. But like I said, I could see this fine for games like Minecraft, so long as your render distance isn't too high. Actually need ammo, so chainsaw this guy. But yeah, as long as it's not too high here, like I said, you should be fine. Like I said, I don't expect this to run, the most, high-end intensive games, other than, say maybe some older ones in your, older ones you may be emulating, anything like that. But, for a title that came out in 2020, while Doom will run on, like I said, a Tamagotchi, compared to some AAA titles, I still, think this is pretty impressive for integrated built-in graphics like this. All right, guys, that about wraps up the overview of the desk mini here from MinisForum. Like I said, we had the UM700 model sent over here to check out. So like I said, hope you guys enjoyed, what we could do with this. I guess the question to answer is, what is this for? Who's it for? Like I said, I can see it as a great, like I said, we use this as a retro emulation console. This would make an awesome HD PC. Like I said, we, even for some professional applications, like I said, did play around with it, a little bit with it, doing some Lightroom work in Adobe Lightroom, Adobe Photoshop. Didn't get a chance to install our Premiere Suite yet to see how it handles video editing, but I've seen a couple videos on these models going over that, and it handles up to 4K playback decently well. I will chug along a little bit. Like I said, and render times might not be the best, but like I said, I've seen it handle some of those. If you guys want to check out videos on that in particular, or give me a little more time to play with this guy, and we'll see how well it can work in comparison to our full-sized desk setup there. But like I said, great for retro emulation. I can see it great for, office applications. It's nice to have something, kind of the smaller round, say if you don't want to, if you're just doing, YouTube, Netflix, kind of just video streaming, light work, office workloads, editing, things like that, that doesn't require a ton of horsepower, that you don't need to crank up, a full-on desktop for. This is great for that, especially if you need something in a very small form factor and not a ton of power. I think this definitely comes in handy, especially considering the included base mount in the back, so you could put this right on the back of a monitor, and like I said, that's pretty much where it would live, turning your monitor kind of into a little all-in-one, so you wouldn't even see the PC. For something that's pretty much the size of an Xbox controller, it's pretty easy to hide even on the back of a monitor, say anything like that. I like that it is easily upgradable. Like I said, I like the little two clips to take the top off here, allowing you to get to the full inside of the chassis. That is nice, giving you the option to put that SATA mount on the front there. Like I said, I think that's just an awesome little feature. It just screws into the top lid. That's really cool. And then the cable is just kind of tucked in right there. I like that you can access the M.2 from the top here. So if you want to upgrade to larger storage, whether it be through the 2.5-inch SATA or changing out the M.2. We want to keep this one because it has Windows 10 Pro on it, but say if you did want to upgrade and install a different OS, you could. And like I said, you can access the SODIMM RAM from right at the top there. Only time you're ever needing to take the bottom off and remove anything is say if you needed to repaste the SoC that's on the other side. And of course, for that, you'd have to remove the cooler and everything out of the way. But I like that you can pretty much access all the upgradable stuff just by popping that little lid off the top. Cooling performance-wise, seemed to handle everything just fine. Like I said, did notice the fan spinning up if we were sitting on something that was kind of demanding for long enough, but it wasn't super audible. Even for a fan that's this size, it actually kept everything pretty cool. Never saw a little SoC or the full package temp hitting much over around 65, 68 C, so not too bad there. But this isn't a super high wattage TDP part anyway. I think we're gonna max like 35 watts on this guy, so nothing too crazy. I like that they include that base mount and a Displayport Hdmi port in the back. Now, of course, they are pretty short because they're thinking in mind of someone that is going to strap this to the back of a monitor. But like I said, we just ran one of our longer HDMI cables. It would work fine for that. This will probably become my new little HD PC, allowing me to reclaim one of my mini ITX boards that I have lying around. So that's probably what I'm going to be using this for. Of course, for some retro gaming, stuff like that, have some friends over. Plug some controllers into this because they do make all kinds of retro-inspired controllers out there that still terminate to USB-A, so you can still kind of feel like it's the old school controller, but like I said, all going through this guy here. Yeah, if you guys do have any questions or anything about the MinisForum UM700, like I said, leave them down in the comments below. Like I said, I'll try to answer all those if you guys do have any other questions or want to see what else it can do. Like I said, definitely let me know that as well. Like I said, this was just kind of an overview video of everything today that we wanted to go over. Like I said, that pretty much wraps it up. If you guys do have any questions, like I said, drop a comment down below. Check us out over on Instagram, over at Desktops Gaming. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Take it easy.